Hello, in this video we're going to look at an example of how to implement a Java method, specifically an example of a method that doesn't return a value. So remember, broadly speaking, we have two types of methods. We have methods that return something and methods that don't. This method is just going to print something to the screen and not return anything for the program to use. So if we take a look, we're going to start with part A. It says complete the definition of the method printRec. So there's the definition right here. So that it prints a filled rectangle pattern using the character C that is width characters wide and height characters high. So to understand this problem, or to code this problem, we first have to understand it. So if the arguments happen to be, for example, an x, a 3, and a 4, what this method would do is it'd print out a rectangle using x's that would have a width of 3 and it would have 4 lines. If for some reason we pass to it, say, a star, a 2, and a 6, in that case it's going to print out a star pattern, 2 wide, and 6 lines of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now that we understand this problem, we want to code it. So the way to think about this problem is what we want to do is we want to print out each line individually. So we notice that this first line is the same as every subsequent line. So if I can print out this first line and then take the code to print out that first line and do it the number of times that the height is, I'll get that whole shape. So let's dive into our program now. So here it is. And this is a program that I've been programming a couple methods in. So again, we were going to write this method definition. We have to put it inside the class, but not inside one specific method. So I'm going to put it right here, put some space. So right now our methods always start with public static. These are called modifiers. We haven't quite learned what they do exactly, but it's good to start referring to them as modifiers. So this method isn't going to return anything, so it has the word void here in the return type. The name of the method is printRec, I believe. It's going to take a character called C, an integer called width, and an integer called height. And then we open our brace, close it, and I always like to comment at the bottom, end print rec. So this is the end of the method. So now I know that that brace is associated with that. So if we jump back to our OneNote note here, which is right there, so what we want to first think about is we want to print out one line using the given character. So if my width here in the gray example is 3, I need to print out the x 3 times. So remember, in Java, whenever we're programming in general, when we have some repetitive process that we use a loop. And in this case, it's countable. We know exactly how many times we need to run this loop. It's 3. So in this case, we're going to use a for loop. So I come back into my program now. So I'm going to put a for loop, and I'm going to say for int I equals 0. And I want to go up to the width. But I don't want to include it. So I'm going to say I is less than width. And then I is equal to I plus 1. And then I'm going to go system.out.print. And now the reason I'm saying print here is because I don't want it to go to a new line. And I'm going to print out the character C. So if we run this now, let's invoke this method the way it's set up right now. To invoke the method, I'm going to go into the main and type in printRec, because that's the name of the method. And then I'm going to pass it a character x, and I'm going to pass it 3, 4. So when I run this, what will happen is printRec is the name of this method, so it will come down here, and with the arguments x, 3, and 4, put an x in C, 3 in width, and 4 in height. And so if I run this, I should get 3 x's in a row. Perfect. So now what I want to do is I want to do this for each. I want to do this same chunk of code here. I want to repeat this component of code to do each line. So if I'm going to repeat this component of code, I'm going to put it inside braces. And I'm going to highlight it all and tab it in. And again, I know how many times I want to repeat this code. I want to repeat it height times. So I'm going to use another for loop. So this is an example of a nested for loop. It's where a loop is inside of another loop. So we're going to make a new counter called j. J should be less than height, and then j is equal to, j is equal to j plus 1. And we're almost there. This isn't quite going to work. I want you to pause for a second and ask yourself, do you know why this isn't going to work? So I'm going to run this now, but I want you to try and think about what it might look like before I execute it. So ready? It prints all the x's on the same line. So the problem here is that because we only print C, we never actually go to the next line. So after each time that we print out one line, we want to print out a new line to the screen. So we simply go system.out.println. And now if I run this, there you go. A rectangle that's 3 by 4. I could do another one. I could invoke the method again, and I could put a y, and I could put 9 by 50. Let's make this one a little bit bigger. And there you go. So it's 9 by 50. This one goes right off the screen. Okay. In the next video, we're going to look at how to implement the second part of this question, which is printing out a rectangle with an empty interior. I hope this video helped.